Hello guys, and welcome back to Serenity Valley for episode 23. And today we are going to try to do what I attempted to do back in episode 1 and 2, and that is to fully automate our harvest of our winter barley. Off camera, I was able to get a pretty good automation working with our winter wheat, including baling some straw. So we're going to try to replicate that in our barley field. Before we go and do that, though, I want to bring you up to speed as to what we got going on here with respect to our winter wheat harvest. We collected 250,000 liters of wheat off of our merged field 11 and 12. So we now have plenty of wheat for our pig food machine as well as our Seedmaster. We will need to see what kind of harvest we get off of our barley field to establish which grain we use for our Seedmaster. So we've brought out the four-seater pickup truck because we've got the whole crew here. We've come in from lunch, and we're going to hop on in here into this truck and get down to our winter barley field so that we can get that harvest rolling. Before we came into lunch, we went ahead and staged all of our equipment down there. So let's just go ahead on down here. You'll see that we've got a pretty empty field here. We will need to cultivate, we'll need to fertilize and cultivate this field before we sow our soybeans into it. And I think we're going to put corn down in our barley field once we get that cleared off. So as you can see down here, we've got our harvester already set up, kind of ready to go. We've got our overloader there. We also have our semi. And there is our baler and our bale stacker. And down there ways, we've got our flatbed bale trailer. So what we're going to try to accomplish in this episode is to get our harvester running on course play, set up our semi to unload back at the silo, set up our overloader wagon to obviously unload the harvester back to the semi, and then once we get our harvester far enough ahead, we are going to fire up our baler and send him on its way, following the same course that the harvester is running. And then we will basically manually collect our bales. Well, I say manually. We'll drive the trailer, which will auto-load the bales, and we'll run them up to the bale sell point. I guess I should show you, since we're talking about bales, what we did. We sold $40,000 worth of straw bales off of field 11 and 12. So let's take a look. Let's pull up this map because it's obviously color coded. It looks a bit better. So we're going to be running north and south. I considered running east and west, but then this whole section is pretty narrow. So I think we're going to go run north and south. Fields 11 and 12, we did 3 headlands, and that seemed to work out really well. So we're going to replicate that. We're going to do 3 headlands here, which should basically get rid of this little dog leg, or this little handle, or whatever you want to call that, because by the time we do 3 passes down and up, that should basically be all of that anyway. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish. Let's go ahead and set up. So I think, what did we call this? We called 19. That's what we named this one. We're going to start in the northeast. We're going to go south, and we want to do 3 headlands. Okay. And I want to I think I want to make sure our straw swath, I think I turned it off when I was cleaning up field 11, but I think I just turned it back on. We will have to see. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's make sure this runs the way we want it to, and then we'll save it. Yep. Alright, so we're going to call this field 19 merged 3, I don't know, harvest 3 headlands. Alright, so that's what we'll call that. So while that is running, we probably should have recorded this course first. But, oh well. Alright, let's back up here. So we want to start recording. And we're going to go straight. And you're going to swing around. Nice gentle turn. We're going to get lined up with our railroad crossing. And we are going to try to do the right thing, and that is stay off the field. Obviously you want to drive over your fields as little as possible, simply so that you don't worry about compacting the ground more than it's already been compacted. You'll see there we've already pulled off some pallets even after we went off camera. We're going to leave traffic on, so we're just going to run up this grass side. We don't want to go too terrible quick because we will have a full load trailer. We don't want to tip the trailer or anything. Okay, we don't want to run into our header trailer. Okay. And then we're going to drive through our silo. Make a nice turn. And our harvester is almost full, but that's fine. He'll just have to sit and wait. And we only got one truck running, so we'll just go back the same way we came. So also off camera, we've stocked up our dairy with cardboard and with pallets. We've went ahead and resupplied our greenhouses with cardboard and pallets. Basically, they have everything they need. So the pallets and cardboard we have now are basically excess stock. We can either keep them on hand or we can sell them. So we are going to pull up and stop right about here. Okay. this is barley, and we'll call this field 19 semi to silo. Let's just call it that. And let's see if he drives the course. Good, he didn't. I was going to say if he drives the course, he drives it, but now let's get this guy started. Alright, so let's start the course here. And we will just swing around. We'll bring our pipe out so we can line up easily enough. And we will come around here and try to get lined up on our truck. Leave a waypoint, and we'll drive back on up in here into the field, and we'll call that course done. Field 19, load to semi, and we'll go ahead and get him started. And we'll just see, I guess we should have rode along with this guy. We'll just watch this guy and see how he works. Like I said, we've got to let our harvester get a little bit ahead so that our baler can come in and follow this course. I found out kind of by accident. I did not know earlier, but I had thought that we couldn't use the baler with the auto load trailer with course play because it wouldn't unload the bales properly in the bale trail stacker, the bale stacker. Well, it turns out there's an option in course play to allow automatic on-field unload. I'll show you what the setting says, but it says something like that. And basically what that does then is course play will eject the bales in the bale stacker and leave them on the field automatically, which can allow you to basically drive the trailer around and pick the bales up. So what I had going on in the other field was we had the harvester running, we had this tractor running with our overloader, we had the baler running, all on the same field, all with course play, and I was running around with the semi, basically picking up bales that I thought would be in the way of the harvester, and that ran pretty well. We didn't really have any issues with that. So that's what we're going to try to repeat here on this field. I know this field's a bit more of an odd shape. The other one was okay. What are y'all doing? All right. All right. That was rather interesting. Ride along with you for a bit. So that worked out fairly well, but fields 11 and 12 are squarish in shape. You know, after we merged them, they're still kind of square with a couple jags on them. Our field 19, 24, and 23 are a bit more odd shaped than that. So we'll just have to see how well this course works. If it works well, then that's good. If it doesn't work well, then we're going to be kind of babysitting the whole thing, and that's really not what we want to do. We are getting pretty good yields off of these. In addition to, let me show you, in addition we've got field 14 that we need to finish up soybeans on. And then once we do that, all of our fields will be planted, with the exception of 11 and 12 and 19, 24, and 23, which we are obviously harvesting now. But we will basically prioritize getting those fertilized and cultivated and fertilized again, and then we're going to plant our seed, however you want to call it, and have them ready for a hopefully late fall harvest. We'll just have to see how that all works out. So we're going to let this harvester probably do 2 full headlands before we bother with our baler, because this guy runs at 6 miles an hour and our baler runs at like 12. So we want to basically make sure that we get this guy plenty ahead. There we have our sugar factory steam stack going back there in the distance. So we know that that one's running at least. We've also loaded up our dairy with sugar. So any more sugar that we get made, we will we'll just swing around here and just check for our overloader. So any more sugar pallets that we get made, they can go straight to market, because they're not needed for our dairy. So we've got that fully stocked for now. So our overloader was doing this last time. He kind of waits until we're at 100%. I'm not really sure why, but he also seems if he turns his engine off, he doesn't necessarily recognize that he needs to alright, go on. So I kind of want to see if he just straight lines it, which he's trying to do. That's pretty stupid. Close our pipe too while we're at it. I was wondering if he would straight line it or not. So just ignore we're driving through the field. I know that probably grates on some people's nerves, but oh well. Alright, so we'll just follow this guy along until he loads up the semi, and then we'll probably get our baler and get him all prepped up. So if we look at our... oh, good. So if we pull up our commodity prices screen and just take a look at that real quick. I'm trying to get a good angle on it. Okay. So you can see our barley is pretty low there. It's only $463 per 1,000 liters. Our wheat is $370 per 1,000 liters. So we're getting more for our barley. So we'll probably use wheat for our Seedmaster, simply because it's the cheaper of the two grains. We've got soybeans. We've got a pretty good price of soybeans. Where are you going? Oh, that's convenient. But that, I'm sure that light pole is going to have a collision. Good, we're not going around the light pole. Where are you going? You don't even know where you're going, do you? This is just like, this is ridiculous. Have you decided you know where you're going now? Alright, anyway. So, we've got a pretty good price for soybeans. We might be selling some soybeans here in a little bit. We've got a lot of soybeans from last year's harvest that we haven't used. So, we may just go ahead and offload some of those. We also have raspberries and strawberries. We've our dairy stocked with those, so as we grow those, we can sell them as well. So we should be pretty good with making our sales as far as selling product for getting money. And what is it? Is it the bagasse that? Yeah, the bagasse is what we can use for. We don't need to see the course. The bagasse is what we can use also for power food. So probably in the next episode or two, we'll load up a tipper with that and dump that at the cattle area to kind of see how that works as far as power food goes. What are you? This is classic. This is absolutely classic. This was working flawless off camera. Of course, now it doesn't work worth a darn. I think I'm destined to never film a course play episode, that's for sure. Alright, now, as promised, we will get this guy running. On this course. And he's in field work mode. Let's swing around here. And let's go in here and let's work. Let's turn this down to 8 miles an hour and go. Let's see here. Alright, so let's watch and just see, make sure this guy does what he needs to do. And we'll come around later and clean up all the missed bits. So if you haven't seen this Quadro Pack 5 or Quadro Pack V, it's by Black Sheep Modding. It's a really cool 4-bale stacker. So it works with the Black Sheep Modding big balers, big square balers. You need the trailer attachment, and bales just run into it, and then it basically auto grabs the bale. And it basically lifts the bale up, makes room for the next bale to slide underneath of it, like that. And then the little door opens. Is this? Oh, okay. Here's that option: unloading on field manually. We wanted to set it to automatic. So let's watch how that works. Seeing if everybody's doing their job. Alright, the semi's made it back to the, he's unloading. Looks like he's on his way back now. So you see it picked up the first bale, raised it a little bit. The second bale, and it's going to drop down and pick it up. You see there's off to the side, there's little forks that bite into the bale. You see those? You see they drop down and they pick up the whole stack for the next bale to come along. And then it gets eaten. And then the little door opens. The bales slide out. And then he pauses. He shuts the little door. And he goes back to his business. That is the coolest thing, I swear, ever. If you ask me. So then we just end up with little stacks of how fast is he going? 8 miles an hour. That's good. So we just end up with stacks of 4 bales just around the field. So it's a heck of a lot easier to pick up stacks of 4 bales than it is to pick up little 1 bales all over the place. And in my mind, it makes the bales a lot less risk of having the harvester or something else run into the bales and have a problem. So guys, this episode's had some cuts to it, some edits, and thought I'd end the episode here. Basically, there's a fair bit of harvesting has happened since we were just on screen a little bit ago. And as you can see, our harvester is now making his up and downs. We've got our baler there making its ups and downs. And we just sent our semi off. Let's see, maybe we can see him running up there around the field. So we've got him running. And there's our flatbed. We've made a couple trips and sold a couple loads of straw. So he's just sitting down there waiting for the baler to kind of catch up. So just wanted to show you all that everything did finally kind of smooth its way out. Probably most of these problems were related to the irregularness of this field. You know, we've got several 90-degree turns, kind of inward, I would say, to the field, and that can cause issues, I think, with respect to course play sometimes, especially when we've got multiple course play drivers trying to follow each other or run alongside each other. But for the most part, everything is running perfectly smooth now. So we will finish up this field, and then off camera I will go ahead and fire up our Seedmaster. We've seen how that works, so there's no reason to fire that up on screen. And when we come back for our next episode, we will be focusing on this big field. We will be putting down some dry fertilizer. Then we're going to cultivate that in, and then we're going to put down another layer of fertilizer, and then we're going to be sowing soybeans on this field. So that will give us 3 levels of fertilization, get the field sown with soybeans, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. We will also fire up our pig food machine with barley or wheat, depending on what we've got the most of. And you know, one issue that we do still have with this darn overload wagon is if the engine cuts off, he does not seem to recognize or acknowledge that the harvester is empty. So I don't know if that's a bug with the current iteration of course play, but it seems if his engine cuts off because he goes into fuel save mode, he doesn't start his engine back up to go over and empty the harvester. But the only potential problem that I see with how we have our traffic here is our overload wagon is crossing all of those straw windrows, and of course our baler is actively working in those windrows. So I can see a traffic situation where the baler and the overload wagon kind of come into a collision. We also have I did have one instance where our overload wagon basically drove into the stack of bales, causing the front wheels to be lifted up. So that's also why we kind of are actively running around with our bale trailer, just picking up these stacks of bales, getting them off the field, so that they don't really impact our whole process. So like I said, we'll come back and we'll focus on field 11 and 12 and get that rocking and rolling with soybeans. We'll probably do an episode where we kind of have some just some video, where we do some speed up work. I can't think of the name right now, but we'll just speed up the video and kind of do a little field work in high speed, and maybe that whole episode will just be that field, getting it through all its various stages and steps. So until next time, happy farming, y'all.